All right, we're going to allow about 30 to 45 seconds for everyone to join us here. Thank you for coming in for the program. We appreciate it. Just bear with us for about 30 to 45 seconds, and we're going to get started. Thank you. So glad you could join us today. Just bear with us for a few more seconds. We're going to get started here shortly. We want to start on time. We want to value your time today. Just bear with us. We're going to allow a few more people to come into the webinar, and we're going to get started momentarily. All right. Well, I want to welcome everyone and thank you. Thank you for joining us today for a webinar on how to boost your bottom line. This is effective strategies to increase your ROI from the leads you are already getting. And we greatly appreciate you setting aside time on a holiday to join us today, no less. This is Brad Yoho from Dave Yoho Associates, and I'm thrilled to be your host today. I'm going to be joined on today's program by Dave Yoho, the founder of Dave Yoho Associates, and Sebastian Jimenez from Rilla. This complimentary webinar is produced with the support of our sponsor, Rilla, and our strategic partner, Qualified Remodeler. We're going to get into the content of the program shortly, but first, let's go over a few housekeeping items. Let's start by breaking the ice. We would love to hear from each of you. Please take a moment to introduce yourselves now by typing in your name and where you're joining us from today in the chat box that you see on the Zoom platform. Shelby from our marketing team will be monitoring this, and if you have any technical issues or need more information about something mentioned during the program, please utilize the chat feature. Also, we received numerous questions which will be addressed during the program, but we encourage you to ask any additional questions you have by utilizing the Q&A functionality. To do so, look for the Q&A box located in your webinar platform, type in your question, and hit send. We're going to be monitoring the questions throughout, and while we're not going to be able to address all of them during the program, we will effort to respond to any unanswered questions after the webinar. One final thing before we dive into the content of today's program. We are indebted to our strategic partner, Qualified Remodeler, for their support on this webinar. On October 28th through the 30th, Qualified Remodeler will host their annual event, Top 500 Live, at the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. And you're going to have an opportunity to attend and hear from numerous leaders in your industry. If you want to learn more about this transformative event, the website's on that screen right now. It's top500live.com. That's top500live.com. Now, again, we received numerous questions from the registrants leading up to this webinar, and we're not going to be able to cover all of them in detail today. However, to kick the program off, here are several questions we received more than once from registrants. A lot of people ask this question to us regularly. What should our goal be for closing sales versus leads issued? To respond to that first, I want to ask you a question. How are you measuring the performance of your salespeople? Are you tracking their close rate against the number of presentations they make or against the number of leads that are generated in your organization? We find that most of the clients that bring us in to work with their sales team are performing based on the 80-20 rule. You might have also heard it called the Pareto principle. This means that 20% of their sales personnel are closing at a satisfactory or a strong rate, and 80% are underperforming. Do you fit that modality? You need to look at industry benchmarks for the products that you sell and set realistic expectations on how to improve your performance. Also, if you are not doing so, you need to track your reps' NSLI, which stands for net sales versus leads issued, and many people refer to it as efficiency rating. More on this to come in the program. Another question we get rather frequently and leading up to this program, how can we stop our salespeople from pre-qualifying leads or predetermining whether the homeowners are worthy of a complete presentation. You're going to hear a ton about this on the program today, but understand this. People are always going to make prejudgments based upon the information they receive or based upon what a home or neighborhood may look like. It's what you choose to do with that information that makes the difference. And in many cases, it calls upon the manager or the trainer to consistently work with their team on overcoming these prejudgments. Another question we received: how do we foster a culture of belief regarding the products we offer and that they're the best solutions to meet the homeowner's needs? Salespeople on the program, I want to ask you a question. Do you believe that the products and services you provide offer the homeowner the best opportunity to improve the value or address the needs of their largest investment, which in most cases is their home? Managers and owners on the program, you should be asking yourselves whether you are equipping your sales team with enough product training and knowledge and supporting case studies that make this belief a reality. One more question that we get rather frequently and we got leading up to this program: what is the best way to train our reps to counter buyer's remorse or negative postings after the sale, or whether no sale was achieved? Again, ask yourself the following questions. Are you setting clear expectations during the sales process to minimize misunderstandings? Are you tying a knot or tying a bow on the sale in the proper manner to ensure that your new customer doesn't just wake up the next day and says, why the heck did we just buy this? And lastly, are you seeking out positive reviews at the point of sale, not simply relying on your marketing team to follow up with the new customers? Are you training your reps? Are you, as a rep, asking for a review at the point of sale? So now we're going to get into the real meat of this program here. I'm going to go bring on my father, Dave Yoho, who's the founder of Dave Yoho Associates, in a second. Dave Yoho Associates, if you're not familiar with our company, is the oldest, largest, and most successful consulting firm that represents businesses in our industry today. And if you're utilizing a step selling, customer satisfaction oriented process, there is a strong likelihood that it came from what Dave Yoho Associates developed all the way dating back to the 1960s. You're about to hear critical insights from Dave that respond to the needs of today's homeowners, however. So I'm going to bring on my dad now. Over to you, Dad.
All right. Thank you, Brad. And also thank you to both Rilla and our friends at Qualified Remodeler. Without the support, both financial and sociologically, and also in-person support that they always give us in these programs. And not to be repetitious, but I want to go back over those questions that you posed, Brad. Would you go back to the first one? What should be our goal in closing versus leads this year? So I'm going to go back to that and say, what should be your goal? And do you have a goal at all? So at the end, towards the end of this program, I'm going to show you how analytics work. We developed these concepts back in 1968, perfected them during the 70s, and then embellished them during the 80s and the 90s. Now, keep in mind, I ran a $60 million company long before there was a computer, long before there was a cell phone. So the fundamentals behind this are not based on the realities of today, all these things you have. You have your children, yourself included, who have a cell phone. And you can pick up anything you want, and you're so far ahead of the rest of the time. I defy you now to tell me how good you are writing cursive or how well you know what a mnemonic is. And I'm going to explain those things to you today. Give me the second question, Brad, because we get this all the time. How can we stop our people from pre-qualifying leads? That's because somewhere in the embers of your thinking process or their thinking process, it was permitted. Now, we went through a period in COVID, and I say pre-COVID, business was different. COVID, it was different. And now we're post-COVID. And when there were some changes in behavior and customers' buying habits. But the concept of the lead, who does that lead belong to and what is enforced about doing that? Only you can determine that. I spent years developing something called a behavioral profile, and I can tell you everything about the kind of person you should hire, how you should train them, how you should agree to compensate them. But I can't teach you to teach them discipline. And I wrote a paper on this one called, it was called the EPOD theory, energy, persuasion, optimism, and discipline. And I can define the first three. I cannot tell you who will have the discipline. I do know this. If you don't have it to begin with, don't expect them to develop it on their own. Now, the last question you asked, Brad, and you addressed very well, what is the best way to train our reps to counter buyer's remorse or negative postings? Well, one of the key ways is that whatever you teach should be taught over and over again. There should be unquestioning, ongoing contribution to going over the facts about why you do or don't get a sale. And what you can look about in your own thing, in the own thing that you teach, and the own thing that you believe describes your company. So the theme of our program today is based on questions, not answers, but questions which, when answered, require strong listening techniques and an examination of what you or those in your company are really doing and what changes may be required. Now it's up to you. So let's start with a bold examination of what most companies have to do to acquire more and more profitable business. What do they have to do to acquire more and more profitable business from those people we call prospects who you desire to turn into satisfied customers? I'm going to put up a question that we receive all the time. Again, does your sales methodology really respond to your customer and your customer's needs in today's marketplace? And I'm going to guarantee you, if I came in and shook hands with you and probed what you're doing, I'm going to find 30 things, 40 things, 70 things, 8 things, 12 things, any one of which can be corrected with time and patience. But you have to understand them first. Some of you on this call today, I understand, are very small companies. And some of you, I saw some of the names, are pretty big companies that do multi-million dollar worth of business. I'll put you all in the same box when we say, does your sales manager really respond to your customer's needs? So you ask me questions and you say to me, so how many leads should we give someone in an anticipated sale? Out of the leads I get, how many leads should be closed? I'm going to give you the analytics in the beginning, and I'm going to go over with you at the end of this and actually show you on the screen how it's done. But I do tell you that business today, qualified sales systems exist. Outdated sales systems exist. But in either case, they exist because we operate a business that is ever in an ever evolving society. Now, if you go back in time and people were in the roofing business 60 years, the average roof was somewhere between $300 and $800. And the roof beyond that was big numbers. Today, you're looking at anything, you can go from $8,000 up to $30,000. Multitude of products. But here's what we ask. We operate in a business where there is an ever-evolving society. What are you doing? Many companies have become content with their growth or profitability. Thus, the perceived need for modern marketing and selling system is seldom addressed. Let me share something with you. When people talk to us about a guy they're going to hire, and they'll say to us, this guy should be really good, Dave, because he comes from a step selling environment. Whose steps, and what environment? Now, anything that you do, number one, I do this, number two, I do that, 3, 4, that could be called a step system. But a step system truly responds to the way the prospect is thinking, the way the individual takes actions. And by that, step selling is accommodating those. And when the customer is saying to you, when you're making a proposal, all I want is a price, I don't need to hear all that information. All I want is the price. Price what's counted. I'm getting 3, whatever the business bureau told them to get. And none of those things are logical. They're logical only that they've said them over and over again, and you respond. Many of your salespeople, I'm talking to you today, are unprepared to use the necessary updated skills which are required to sell sufficient customers and prospects to respond to those changes. We have organizations on the phone who have salespeople who sell $3 or $4 million a year in tickets, meaning contract size anywhere from $800 to $80,000. And we look at those people and say, that's our business. That's what we're doing. And as part of it, that person is following a methodology. So here's my answer. If you're on the phone and want to know what's best, two things. Number one, if you got a guy or a gal that's selling between 2.5 and 4 million, let them go for the time being. Let them go, provided they are not untowardly influencing the rest of your sales organization. You see, when an economy or an industry is experiencing substantial growth, as we have been doing in the past 3 years, then marginal selling skills may not impede that individual or that company from becoming a success. However, when there is a malfunction meaning anything out of the ordinary, or a drastic change in the marketplace with an economic chaos, increased competition, or perceived decline demand, many salespeople are unprepared to use necessary updated skills to interact and sell sufficient customers for prospects to respond to those changes. Hear me all again. I'm telling you that it is time to look at what you're doing. I don't care how good you're doing. Look at what you're doing. You tell me this is a trained salesperson. You say I've been in the business for 20 years. And I'm telling you, when football season opens, even the most professional football player is brought on the field and goes through basic training again. And the fundamentals of what he's supposed to do. A musician practices over and over again. A painter practices over and over again. But we reach some sort of maturity in our own mind that we do not have to expand our thinking and saying what we may be doing, what we may be exercising isn't what it's all about. Now, many companies seem to be searching for an overly intellectual concept of sales success. I'm going to give you some things. I've said some of them already. But despite this, our research shows that nearly 80% of all effective sales training, which takes place today, focuses on teaching the basics on a repetitive and reinforcing basis, often including the use of electronic devices and artificial intelligence, any of which sciences will continue to be valid, but only when that lead is developed if you're exercising customer satisfaction sales training. Now, I did not invent the word customer. I did not invent the word satisfaction, nor did I invent the word sales training. But I did create a system that is known as customer satisfaction sales training, and it is based on what the customer feels, what the customer thinks. And when you get in that customer's presence and that customer says to you, we don't need all that. We've had 3 prices. We've been down to Home Depot or Lowe's and we've seen the products and similar products all the time. All we need is a price. They are saying all we need. They are telling you what they want. Now you're selling an unfinished product. Here's a product unlike the furniture in your home or the carpet on your floor or the suit jacket you may be wearing or the car you're driving. All these are finished products. And when people see them, they can evaluate those things based on, they look at it and say, does it appeal to me? And then they'll go to the second point. How would I like it to be changed, altered? And what will be my price modality? How much am I willing to spend? But that isn't what they need. If a person is buying a roof or windows or a kitchen replacement or a jacuzzi bed, whatever, and they have a need to feel fulfilled when you or the salesperson you've hired goes into that home to make a presentation. And that's a key ingredient. That's where discipline comes in. Because all these electronic devices, and we're going to go with a couple of the day and tell you, great, that's where we're moving. But that doesn't change the fact that to be fulfilled and make it work, you need somebody, some guy, some gal who's been trained in your system and method. Do I sound like a preacher, praying song, come to the altar and needle your needs? No, but I have the same exhortation. I have to tell you, this is an industry that has great potential to finish 2024 and kick off 2025. But it ain't going to be easy because we're getting fewer leads now and we're going to get tightening of credit. And these people aren't moving too quickly because now they could sell their house and make a profit, but turn that profit then into a mortgage. That's complicated. What is sales training? What is customer satisfaction sales training? Your customers' values and their purchasing habits have changed. Home values are up, and so has the cost of a mortgage gone up. So your customer may well be sitting on a fortune. They bought a house for $225,000, they could sell it today for $500,000. An interesting thing, if you say that you bought it for $240 and you're going to sell it for $500,000 today, you're talking about an increase in the value of that is an asset to that customer. And incidentally, if they're single on their own, they get a $250,000 exemption. If they're married, between the two of them, a $500,000 event. You have a protected, valued asset. Why do I tell you this? Part of being a customer satisfaction salesperson is first finding out from the people where they are now and what their needs are. Just what they tell you. Well, we've seen 3 here, we like this and we like that. So we say, how do you effectuate this? Most product and customers can count their home's value as a primary factor in their total estate, but only if you can bring it to their attention. Now, when you go to a doctor, you don't go to the doctor and say, I've got the sniffles, I got a fever of 104, I have ache in my back and my knees and my stomach, my ear or my teeth or whatever it is. No, the doctor does not say, I've seen it all before, take these 2 pills and call me in the morning. No, because a lot of other factors feed in here. What is your body condition at the time? How old you are, how mobile you are, all are factors. That's our job to determine what those factors are. If you don't like what I'm saying, tune out now because it even gets worse. I'm talking about the average person, the average company, the average trainer, the average salesperson on a need-to-know basis. If you choose not to want to listen to it, I understand. But I can't teach you to say a word unless I can teach you to spell. And I can't teach you to spell until you know the alphabet. And your children, your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews, all exercise something. I wrote it down here. People ask me, I heard you make a speech in Minneapolis last year, and you used the word mnemonics. What does that mean? Mnemonics is a strange word. It's spelled M-N-E-M-O-N-I-C-S. Now, you can look it up, and you would see it is almost a lyrical method to exchange information. So we say to a child, tell me your ABCs, and they say to you, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and J, K, L, M, N, O, P. That's a mnemonic. That's the way they learned that. And long before they ever put a word together, they learned the mnemonic. Then they learned to put a word together. That's called spelling. Then you put a word together, that's sentence structure. Then you put commas and periods and exclamation points. That is all come after the fact, but you got to start all the way back to alphabet. That's what you have to do in selling. I don't care how smart you are, how great you think you are. We have clients now today who have salespeople who sell 3, 4, 5 million. We have some who sell $1.5 million and sell it very effectively and very profitably. Then this comes to a fact. Are you wasting some of your leads? Are you doing what is in your best interest? I want to show you a slide here. This is called your response to that. Your response to analytics. You're perhaps, now when I say analytics, what are they? They're the numbers that are available to you. This is not from your account, this is from you. And for most of you, if you don't have a CRM, you better find out what the hell they are and go and get one because you can't work in the business world today without one. They're not inexpensive. They are not expensive, I should say, but you need them. So I'll go over analytics again. You may have outdated sales and marketing practices. How do you know that? Well, when people call you on the phone and they say, I'm interested in getting a price, what do you ask them? What do you tell them you're going to do? You may think you're being hale, hearty, and well met because you have a pleasant person on the phone that talks nicely to these people. That ain't the way it works. Here's what works. Are you getting fulfilling information from them that you can further fulfill by providing them answers? My son David, who worked for me for many years as a trainer, called this selling the value of the visit. That's where it starts. When you get a lead, you asked me some questions here today about having a booth at a show or something. What should you be talking to people about? Here it is. The value of the visit. Why should they permit you, your cohorts, your employees, your salespeople, your marketer, why should they permit you to come into their home? And the only reason, the answer is to find out what your real needs are, where you stand in the marketplace. So what questions are you answering over the phone? Well, are you asking about how long you lived in the house? If it's about a roof or a wet basement or whatever it is, how long has the condition been present? What have you done about it so far? Then you say, how long have you lived in the house and what is your intent with this product? What would you like it to do if you're getting a kitchen remodeled? Then you have to say to them, what is your anticipation? What would you like? I want you to take a look at your hiring and training methods because this is where the whole darn thing comes apart. You do believe somewhere along the line that if you hire the right person, they will do the right thing. And that's been proven over and over again to be incorrect. So you want to take a look at what you're doing. While you hiring people who can effectively fill what you want them to do? And if they can effectively fill them and you want to train them in your product, your service, your methods, so that they adequately fulfill the need by the customer in customer satisfaction, then you better learn the new methods of training. Now, the fourth thing in this bullet is what are your personal attitudes? And if you are listening to me carefully, I'm doing a lot of things to make your skin crawl. I'm telling you, take a lead in incorrectly. Tell me the right way to do it. Yeah, I could send you 4 scripts. I do it all the time in magazine articles. I'm going to tell you about a white paper that I published. I can't make you read it. I'll send it to you free of charge. A white paper that was published within the last 30 days. And it's called, Is Your Company Prepared to Thrive or Just Survive? I got to read it. And if there are a couple words in there, you don't know what they mean, go to your dictionary. That's how I learn language. First, go to your dictionary. But what are your personal attitudes? Do you believe, you think, you feel, you really know? And we have clients who we trained for years to do things in a given way. And along came COVID and messed that all up. And they went into laissez-faire modes and did what they wanted to do. Somebody was telling them, you can sell over the phone. You can sell through Zoom. And you can sell some. I don't know that you'll ever meet the requirements that meet the needs for leads that cost X number of dollars. And one final thing on attitudes. When you talk about learning these things, then do you ask yourself this question? What is the total cost of my issued lead? Don't tell me you know off the top of your head. If you don't have a CRM, you don't know. Your leads come in from varying sources. What do you want them to be? What would you like your guy, gal to go into the home and tell these people and then anticipate every 3 times we do it, we'll get an order? If we do 2 out of 7, is that adequate? Now, what are you spending on your leads? If you don't know the full course, you're working with a blank tablet because the key to this that I'm talking about is knowing what is the cost of an issued lead. In this series, of virtual training, it is our intent, our desire to provide you with ideas, opinions, and suggestions that fit the need of most companies in our industry. Now, we are often asked this question. Bring up the next slide, will you please? We are often asked this question: what makes customer satisfaction selling different? Well, I have a friend, Joe Tallman, who was an early student of ours, I'm going to say 30 some years ago. And he always says, what does the customer want in terms of satisfaction? Are you selling your customer on the fact that they'll be satisfied with you completing this job? Or are you selling them on a factor basis that said, if you get this job, it's going to be done in such a way that 10 years from now, when you go to sell the house, you will still have that degree of customer satisfaction. That is what your customer is entitled to. But you do not know what the truth is until you kind of uncover the issues that they are facing. Customer satisfaction and what makes ours different. Well, let me define it for you this way. Customer satisfaction selling is developed only after carefully examining the way the customers feel, think, and act. You think you're doing all the right things? Yeah. Take the time to do a customer satisfaction survey on the people you don't sell. Now, if you're only getting your prices high or too high than the competition, that should tell you a different story if you know what you're looking for. It says you should be selling value, not price. And yet, when the salesperson gets a variation in the price, or the people say it's just a little too much money, and he calls back and he says, "Boss, got some price resistance here. How can you help me?" And you give him a break in price. That is not the answer. See, customer satisfaction is developed, let me say it again, only after carefully examine the way customers feel, think, and act. Now, let me show you a couple examples. And if you don't know these things, make a note of them. If you're selling replacement windows, every structure that every built in the United States follows some standards. One of the standards, there's an opening in every 100 square feet of perimeter wall space. Therefore, if you had a house and it was 20 foot high and 18 feet long, that's 360 square feet. In every 100 square feet, there's an opening. That's either a window or a door. And let's say, for the sake of argument, that the house that has a window and is 6 feet tall and 3 feet wide, that's 18 square feet. And if that is in every 100 square feet of your perimeter wall, that means 18% of the house is glass. 18% of the house is glass. Now, the people that have very, very expensive windows, the people that have moderately expensive windows, the people who have just upgrade windows that are fairly expensive, all seem to use the same glass from the same source. So 18% of the house is at risk. What are you doing to present to that in such a way, in such a form, that the individuals that are listening to you, hearing you, see the value of what you're presenting? So, customer satisfaction selling is psychologically based on the customer's habit, speech, and feelings. I had said this individual asked me the questions about certain phrases I use, and people always ask me, what is Socratic teaching? What does that mean? You say it. Socrates was a brilliant man, and he was so brilliant that when the system didn't like him anymore, they made him drink poison and he died. But Socratic teaching is a psychological factor system. It aids this salesperson, your salesperson, in building rapport, if you understand it. So if someone simply says, I'll cover this at the end, if your price is right. Now, what is right? And that guy might be wearing a Timex watch, or he might be wearing an Omega that costs $18,000. They're both timepieces, but they have a different value system for the people that carry them. And you might be in photography and you'd spend $1,800 for a camera, and the guy would say, that's stupid. And he'll go out and spend $1,200 for a rifle that fires a bullet in a certain way that can take down a deer or whatever. So you're looking at impacting your customer by delving into their value system. If you're saying to me, that's being nosy and my customers will never live in it, I'm going to say you're right. Because if you feel that way, that's your attitude. I ain't here to beat you over the head, pal. I'm here to share with you systems and methods. And I'm going to give you an opportunity at the end to get some of the wisdom that I put into all these things over the years. Now, we didn't build a $60 million company by accident. When we sold it, in 1974, it was $60 million. That's the equivalent of about $350 million today. But I started with one office, two salespeople, and myself. Took on a business partner. He in turn had two salesmen and himself. So that were six of us building a marketplace. Ended up, we had 147 salesmen. We had 22 offices in 13 states, all built on the empirical, that means true data, long sustained. And it works this way. It aids the salesperson in gaining rapport. Rapport is based on trust and understanding, being of ease rather than ill at ease. It works towards building trust and overcoming resistance, all the while presenting long, sustained value, which in perception exceeds the price you're about to quote. It permits the salesperson to grow in efficiency and self-assurance with the use of this Socratic language. And it isn't all too tough to learn. I'm going to show you how to get your fingers into it at the end. Pretty simple. If you don't want to do that, you're not going to offend me in any way, shape, or form. I didn't borrow money for you to build this office, build my bookcase, buy this tie, this coat, this watch. I didn't do that. Here's what I do rely on. I believe in education. I believe in knowing what you don't know. I believe in finding out what you don't know and what you think, feel, and believe is workable, and then making it workable. Now, if you're using this, you will be teaching a method which responds to the values and buying habits of your customer. And I will tell you one other thing. Customer satisfaction surveys should be taken on every deal. Not only ones you sell, but the ones you don't sell. And there's a way to do it. And what can you learn from those you didn't sell? Well, I'm going to come to a point in a few minutes where I'm going to introduce you to a guy who has invented a system would help you. I'm not on his payroll. They're sponsoring this program, and I want you to know what they have developed to help you. Ride along are the poorest managed segment of training that exists in our industry, worse than anything I know. Ride along, rehashing. And if they're not made routine, you're wasting your time. How do you define analytics? Please bring up the next slides. Okay, how do you define analytics? I want you to look at this. I'm going to give you 6 points. There are probably 9 or 10 points, but these are the basic points. Anybody can do it, purely numbers. Take the number of leads that you've received, wherever they came from, whether they were referrals, whether people saw your booth at a show, or whether people you have a showroom and they stopped at your showroom, whether their brother-in-law, whatever these leads were. Did you get them from Angie's List or any one of the need aggregators? Did you get them from an ad you had or a direct mail piece? Take all those leads. Then see what percentage of those leads you can really turn into appointments. What is an appointment? Where you can meet the interested people, hopefully the interested people at their home at a time prominent for them, and they'll give you 45 minutes or so to work their way through. Then take the number of leads actually issued to sales rep. Every sales rep individual, then collectively. Then the number of leads that received the full presentation. I just gave you 3 things to look at. Now let me give you 3 more. I want to give you the next 3. And here's number 4. Give me the number of leads that were sold and give me the sales volume. We did this long before we ever had computers to do it. 1968, 1970, we didn't have those kind of things in the profusion that they exist today. Then I want you to look at the sales canceled or the credit rejected. And then I want you to take a look at the net volume versus the number of leads which were issued. So in the early stages of training, most salespeople require basic instructions, abundant role playing with structured customer satisfaction sales presentations. Electronic sales support is great. Move on to being scripted. Move on to analyzing customer presentations that are done in a custom fashion. Now, after mastering the basics, many salespeople can also master more sophisticated process, but it all starts here. And if you don't have this and you're not putting to work in many sales organizations, 1/3 of all the sales produced represent 50% or more of the total sales revenue. Something wrong with that. All right. I'm going to send you, if you request it from me, a white paper. I just want to make sure I'm giving you the proper name. The white paper. You write here, email, say you heard on the program. You have to give us an email address and we'll forward. Will your company thrive or just survive in 2024? The hubbing, the title of the content information is customer satisfaction selling, not just a theory, an actuality. It's about 5 pages long. It won't do you any good to order it if you don't read it. Then accept the concept that you will need right along. Accept the concept that you have to rehash. Most sales organizations can take the needed step to upgrade the skill level of the salespeople. However, it takes courageous management to assess the reality of customer satisfaction, and it all starts with analytics. And what is customer satisfaction? A language, a key tool. Now, what would I like here? Brad, help me. Customer satisfaction helps 3 things. What does the customer need? What is the customer really interested in? What do the customers need versus their want? Let me take a look at what we have on board for you today. It's a special joy of mine to introduce people to you that are doing things to help you do what you want them to do. And so I'd like to bring with you a good friend of mine. Brad, how would you describe the guy who's about to speak? How would you describe it?
He's an innovator, I would say. There's a lot of people I think who come into this industry that don't really take the time to understand it. They don't really take the time to understand the types of people, the types of selling practices, the types of marketing practices that are needed to develop and keep salespeople, get the right salespeople on board, train them up. And Sebastian and his team over at Rilla have developed a really strong solution, and they're constantly working on it. They're constantly tweaking it. So I would describe him as an innovator, but he's an innovator that understands the industry, which I don't think is the case with everybody that, from a technological perspective, that comes into this industry.
Okay, so bring up that slide on Rilla. So what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to interview this Sebastian. I want to get your side of the story, not just his side of the story. And there's going to be a simple way for you to get all the information you need. Now, Sebastian, hopefully you are on the other end of this. You can answer by saying yes, no, or bang your crib.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right. So here's what I like to do, Sebastian. I'm going to encourage the people to contact you for more information. Before it is, I want to give you an opportunity to show them your perspective. You didn't come from our industry. You did abundant research to get here. As I understand it, you spent unbelievable amounts of money perfecting the technique. Now, I'm going to ask you 3 major questions. Let me start, and I'll put this up on the screen as I asked the Brad. Why do successful sales reps need to be monitored on what they are doing and saying to the prospects and customers in their home? Please tell me.
So, hi guys, and thank you, Dave, and thank you, Brad, for having me here. I think that a tool like Rilla would not have existed with all the work that you guys did to bring sales excellence to the industry. So super excited to be here and super excited to continue partnering together. And thank you everybody for taking a time out of your busy days to come and be with us. So, why do successful sales reps need to be monitored today with a tool like Rilla? So, one of the fortunate things that we've been able to do with Rilla is the leading virtual ride-along software for the home improvement industry. What that means is when your reps go out there and talk to customers, they record their conversations. And we use AI to transcribe, analyze, and give them feedback to help them improve their sales and to help you do what we call virtual ride-alongs that are 100 times faster, better, and more productive. One of the collateral benefits that we've gotten out of being able to record so many conversations, we've recorded over 2 million conversations now that have been recorded on Rilla in the home, is that we've been able to analyze what actually differentiates successful salespeople versus non-successful salespeople. And if I can actually share my screen, Dave, I want to share a piece of data that I want to share with everybody. So
Go ahead,
I can go.
please do.
Brad, I need host to. Okay, perfect. So this is why you need to be monitoring your sales reps. This slide that I'm about to show. So one of the things we measured, right? We have an AI that you can literally ask questions and learn anything you want about all the conversations that have been recorded. And one of the things we asked our AI was like, what is the correlation between following a detailed 10-step process? In this case, we picked the Yoho system. We have a lot of customers using the Yoho system. What is the correlation between close rates, average tickets, and following a sales process? And this is the results of that. And this is across millions of conversations in the home remodeling industry. This is including windows, exterior remodeling, roofing, siding, gutters, doors. This is the data that came back. This is, we only looked at the last quarter because we wanted to be up to date. So this is about 100 and so thousand conversations that were recorded in the last quarter. We did the data here. And so here's what the graph describes. With Rilla, you can actually measure how compliant are your salespeople with following your 10-step process. Let's say your 10-step process involves something like saying the company story and talking about financing and talking about greeting the customer at the door and building rapport. Rilla will literally tell you how closely they're following the process. So what this graph describes is, so in the vertical axis, on the one hand side, you have close rate. So this is 10% close rate, 20%, 30%, 40%, all the way to 50. And then on the right-hand side, you have average ticket. So this is 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000. This is the average of the Rilla customers that we looked at in the last quarter, 2,500 average ticket, right? And then about a 30% close rate on average, right? For all the customers that we looked at. And remember, this is including many different verticals. So what you want to look at is not the actual numbers, but the trend. And look at what happened. The customers who have a sales process and their reps follow at 0 to 10% of the time, they're higher in average close rates, or they're almost at the same average close rate as people who don't have a sales process, but very little compliance. And the more you increase your compliance with a sales system, so not only having the sales system of making sure your people are following it, if you get all the way up to 80 and 90% compliance, that's where you're getting up to that 50% close rate. So you look at the difference. This is the industry average right here on the right. The industry average is around 30, 35. And when you're following a sales process to the T, you're all the way up to 50%, which is almost like an 80% improvement in close rates. The same, and it's even a more powerful story when you consider the average ticket. The industry average for the average ticket that we saw from the last quarter for all the different conversations that were recorded on Rilla was 2,500. And look at the average ticket for the companies that have a sales process where their reps are compliant with it 90 to 100% of the time. It's above $8,000. So the average ticket is almost 4 times higher when you're following a sales process to the T than when you're not following a sales process at all, right? And you can see it here. The people that are following a sales process barely 0 to 10% of the time, you know, you're like at below a 2,000 average ticket. So it's actually 4 times higher. So the reason why you need to monitor your salespeople is that you not only want to have a sales system in place, you want to make sure that they're actually following the process. When they follow the process, and this is actually looking at the Yoho sales system, the 10-step process, you actually get higher average tickets and higher average close rates. And this is not me saying, this is just the data that we've captured from, like I said, over 100,000 conversations in the last quarter alone. So that is why you need to be monitoring your salespeople. So,
now,
Dave,
wait a minute.
back to you.
Hold on a minute. You're so outgoing. I don't know where you get your energy. I hope you're not smoking weed before we go on. You are superb. But here's what I'd like to ask then. If this is so good, what type? Show me this next slide. I don't mean to haunt you with this, but what type of resistance do you face in getting companies to effectuate the changes in their organization that this takes? Resistance. Tell me about it.
So when we talk about resistance, it's usually the fact that you're going to be recording people. There's always going to be a natural friction or natural resistance there. So the resistance is going to come from 2 places, or people imagine it's going to come from 2 places. One is the homeowner, and the other one's the sales rep. Now, the only one of these resistance that actually happens and it's important is the one from the sales rep. The homeowner, we've actually seen a lot of our customers literally tell the homeowner that they're going to be recording the interaction right there in the home. And most of the homeowners actually don't even mind it. Not only they don't mind it, we have data that we've published on Rilla.com/reports that when you actually tell the homeowner that you're recording the conversation, they're more likely to have a positive sentiment with the conversation. Because if you think about it, in the home remodeling, home improvement industry at large, most of the interactions are a female homeowner interacting with a male sales rep or a male design consultant. And when you have a female homeowner getting a male that comes into her home saying, hey, I'm going to be recording this interaction, it actually puts them at ease. The homeowner's never resistant. All of the resistance comes from the sales rep. So how do you overcome the resistance from the sales reps? Here's what happens. The top performing sales reps at the beginning absolutely hate the concept of recording their conversations. They hate it. They resist it like the plague. They don't like it at all. The middle of the pack, they are slightly concerned. And then the bottom performers and the new reps actually embrace it faster than anybody else, because if you're a bottom performer and somebody tells you, I'm going to be recording your calls now, and you say no, well, then you're fired because you're a bottom performer. So you don't have any ground to stand on to say no. So they embrace it, they get on it. And the new performers, they have no expectation of the business. So this is just the way things are. When the
Now,
bottom reps, yes.
Let me add something to that, though, because I know of the facts where you got resistance. The owner likes it, the sales manager doesn't like it. The owner likes
Correct.
it, the sales manager likes it. 3 top salesmen don't like it.
Correct.
The fundamental fault here is attitude. Who paid for the lead? Whose reputation attracted the lead? Whose home show? Whose ad in a book? Whose direct mail produced this lead? Now, if you add it up and see what it really costs you to issue a lead, they're your leads. Whether they sell them or they don't sell them, they're your leads. Now, I also have a letterhead which said the degree of importance of any idea will be based on the amount of resistance. Resistance doesn't make it wrong. Resistance simply means other people do not effectively understand it. So
Correct.
then, if you say, well, in the company, well, the sales manager doesn't like it. Forcing Rilla down their throat is not the answer. The fundamentals have to change. That's where we come in. And we say, look, who paid for the leads? Tell the guy what the lead costs. We had a client years ago who won every one of the leads. When leads cost $482 to produce, every lead they got had $482 in the upper right-hand corner. So these things work. And you mentioned 2 things. You mentioned artificial intelligence, and I have to tell you, at my age, with the color of my hair, that's like saying voodoo when I first heard it.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it is through AI that you're able to bring these moderate techniques to an effective price. Now, I'm not going to do the commercial for you, except to say, I believe that the average person, irrespective of the level of resistance, the average company does get satisfied. What would you like to say about that?
I mean, yeah, totally. So what happens after you implement Rilla? Your bottom performers, your new performers, they start embracing it. They start improving. When the top performers see that the bottom reps are actually getting closer to them in the leaderboard, if not surpassing them, because they're getting coached by an AI tool, but they're getting coached by a sales manager 100 times more than before. With more coaching, you get better. With more monitoring, the top performers embrace it and actually become the power users. Once the top performers get on average, after a quarter of using Rilla, our customers, they see that their close rates improve by 30 to 40%. Increase, right? So if you are at 40%, a 40% increase is 4 times 16. So it's 16% percentage points. So you go from 40 to 56%, right? So that's a 40% improvement from 40% close rate. And your average tickets also improved by 17%. So not only your close rates improve, your average tickets, it's not like you're closing more because you're discounting. You're actually closing more and discounting less. And so that's on average that we've seen. And if you could look at all of our case studies at Rilla.com/customers, and you can see like all of our, and we work with some of the top customers in the country now. So on average, that's what we see, like 40% improvement in close rates and a 17% improvement in average tickets after a quarter of using Rilla.
Let me ask you another specific here, though. When you look at tie downs, and you teach tie downs and you teach people what to say. We teach these fundamentals like the permission statement. We teach that. And we teach them to say specific things in a specific way. And it
Yes.
didn't come out of my brain, it came out of my training. I'm
Yes.
certified in neuro-linguistic programming. I'm certified in Socratic teaching. And these concepts we pass on to people in a format where if you say it right, that you're going to get the right response. Is it easy? No, but it's very demanding. And the people who don't teach their people what to say in the home are relying on that person saying something that is not going to be denigrating to your company. And so when we say this to you, we do understand it's true. And I have to tell you that Sebastian and I am impressed by the amount of research you had in your head before you met us for the first time, which was early on, and you had all this research, and it was very impressive. And I say
Thank you.
you're almost qualified, not quite yet. You're almost
Not quite, just a little bit. I needed to get training from the best, man. That's why I needed to get my training.
All right. Well, again, now what we're going to do is you're going to show this thing on the screen. I do not understand this thing. I don't understand who created it, but all I know is if they go up to this thing and take a picture of this, tell me what happens.
Yeah, so if you hold your phone up and point your camera to that QR code right there, you click on the link, it takes you to Rilla.com. And you could just go to Rilla.com. That's RILLA.com. And if you do that QR code, it's going to take you to the book a demo link where you can put your company, your name, your email, your phone number, and book a demo with one of our highly trained sales consultants who can help you see if Rilla would be a good fit for your business. I promise you, all of our salespeople are highly trained with the latest in AI technology. I do about 250 virtual ride-alongs myself on all of our salespeople every single day. So, or every single month, sorry. And so, yeah, book a demo at Rilla.com or through the QR code. So, thank you.
All right. So, gentlemen and ladies, I want to move on to the next thing. I want to come up. I'll recap this thing at that point. And I want to talk to you about your personal habits. Where do we go from here? I look at this question. What is the customer today really interested in? Would you know? Have you read the surveys? Do you buy any of the surveys? We spend a fortune hearing and looking at these surveys. They're not all correct, but fundamentally, they do describe the issue. What are they really interested in? Now, they got this home that they paid $250,000 for that's worth $600,000, to give you an example. Their home is their most valued piece of equipment, their valued asset, the most expensive thing they own, even if they only own part of it, and their mortgage. Now, what does that tell you? This is the great American dream, to own your home. We build more new homes every year, even in wacky times, we build them, and the American public sucks them up. And if you live in a neighborhood where the values of your home haven't gone up, you better go into another neighborhood. But people have to be aware again as to what these assets are valued for, what they mean. So where do we go from here? What have you read lately? What have you looked at? What do you know now? We get people tuned in all the time and tell us we're your greatest. We watch you all the time. We've heard you all the time. Well, I understand all that, and I'm supposed to be gratified. And yet I am not gratified, because I'm going to tell you this. I built my companies. I have encouraged my clients to spend money on education. Not going to some place where they hear this flashy things about this is the way I did it. You can do it too. I was at a program one time for a major magazine, and somebody said they sell 78% of all the leads they issued. And I said, hold on. You tell that guy, I'll pay you what I get for a day's. I get $15,000, and I will pay him $15,000 if he can show me how you get 78% close rate against lead. Oh, well, no, well, we didn't, and it didn't happen, and I would make a mistake and what have you. The truth is, if you look at the marketplace today, the average company is spending more on leads than ever before. If you're a small company, you may think $250 or $300 is an expensive lead. How about the companies that are spending $600, $800, $1,000? I want to help in those areas. I can't help you until you help you. Now, I am very appreciative to all the people who have used our services. I want to make something available to you that is just being reintroduced. It's called supercharging your sales. And here's what I'm going to tell you. All the things you see here, they're online. You get them, go get them. You're not going to change my lifestyle. What I will tell you, if you'll listen to them, we spent a fortune videoing, filming, editing, and presenting, and we've spent a fortune. And who buys these? Our most successful clients buy them, even today. And they require that their salespeople learn with this and make their salespeople buy this. It's a subscription. Now I'm going to tell you that part. Brad, I'd like you to tell them the next part. Then I want to wrap up with 2 more questions that we've received so far. Please, Brad.
So I want to share this with everybody, because if you ask the average company today to say what's the biggest issue that's impacting our business, they're going to say lead generation. We're having trouble getting the amount of leads we used to get. Leads are expensive. They're going to say that it's still an issue recruiting and hiring people. And a lot of people are going to say that we're still having a lot of challenges getting our jobs fulfilled. What most people are not going to say is that they're not training enough. There's a lack of ongoing training happening in their business. And that is what I want to speak to here. There is a lack of ongoing training in a lot of businesses that we see. There's a lack of retraining. There's a lack of resources that are devoted to helping salespeople grow and adapt and adhere to your methodology. One of the greatest things that we see is when a salesperson reaches out to us directly and says, I want to invest in your training. My company is not allowing me, they're not providing me any resources for training, but I want to spend my own money to invest in my own training. And I know we have salespeople on the program today. This is why we designed this course. It's called Super Sales Training. This was out many, many years ago. We've repurposed it. It's broken down into several different video courses. It has a dashboard. If you're a company, you can add your salespeople and have them learn along with you. There's downloadable material. There's role playing. There's interactive quizzes. If you are an individual salespeople who's on this program today, you can invest in it for yourself. If you're a business, you can invest in it for yourself as well. All the pricing's right up on the screen here. What we're going to do is we're going to offer a 15% discount in perpetuity. What that means is if you sign up with the promo code 15OFF, 15OFF, you're going to be granted that promo code for the life of it. It's never going to increase. It's never going to go up. So we encourage you to take a look at this. Invest in yourself if you're a salesperson. If you're a business, invest in your people. Invest in their education. That is the best thing that you can do for yourself and for your people. Dad, back to you.
Okay, I want to leave you with a personal story, which it isn't easy for me to tell you. I grew up in the center city of Philadelphia. My parents never owned a home, a car, or anything like that. My father maybe had an 8th or 9th grade education. My mother 6th or 7th grade education. My father died at 71, his father at 61. My mother died at 43, and her mother died at 63. They died of the same thing. All my family had diabetes. I came out of World War II, and I went to night school to get my education, but it didn't stop there. Every phase of my life, I have dealt with education. I'm not trying to sell you on being me. That wouldn't work. I will try to sell you on a concept. This is a great country. People that screw it up are ordinary human beings who think they're doing the right things, but in many places, we're heading off in the wrong direction. We are in a business where the gross revenue from our industry is anywhere from $250 to $300 billion annually. We are in a business that you, as individuals, have invested your life. Now, when I went back to school, it was not easy. I went back to school, and I went to school 5 nights a week and worked during the day because my parents couldn't get me at home. I don't recommend it to you. I don't have any good memories about growing up that made my life so wonderful, dances or parties or whatnot. But I will tell you one thing, which I have more than most people in this industry. I'm better educated. Now, what does that mean? I don't decry them. But every day I buy services. I put money into finding out how things work. My son Brad here has a college education, but he also has a degree in marketing because I encourage all my children to be educated. So I'm going to encourage you right now. You want to learn the things that I know. You want to learn the things I put them all into these series. If you look at the series, you'll see the thousands of hours I put in being interviewed, the research that I've done in all those areas. And I want to lay them in your lap. I can't give them to you for free, but I have an old saying, if you think education is expensive, just tell me what the cost of ignorance is. Because you're already paying for the lead. You're already paying for your guy going into the home. Why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't your lead? Why shouldn't yours be the best it is? I have favorites. Yes, I have favorites. David Moore, I hold to be one of the best educated, smart guys I know. I have Murray Gross, who built a little cabinet facing business into a $200 million business that he sold for $100 million. I have Gordon. I won't give you his last name for a number of reasons. I have Gordon. I have Joe R. I have John H. I have Dave H. All these guys have 30, 40, 50 years experience in what you do. And all of those have contributed to the making of this organization that I have. And we want to share that with you. I won't beat you over the head. If you came to me and said, what can you do to make me happy? I should have favorite charities, give them 10 grand. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. What can I do to were you the way to make you happy? By making you happy, you make me happy. Because I get people all the time sending me letters and say, Dave, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for encouraging me to do this. Here's my answer. I don't accept it because I give the same information to everybody. Some people just study it better and use it better. But here's what I will guarantee you. I have given you my lifeblood. Well, I don't know if you figured out how old I am, but I've given my lifeblood to this industry. My entire family is devoted to this industry, and we want to share with you what happened. If that sounds maudlin or it makes you want to tear up to hear that I came from the kind of thing, don't waste 10 seconds on it. I live a wonderful life that I learned to live in my early 30s. I was independently wealthy. I want you to do the same thing. Now start. See, there's that strange thing on the black and white thing. And Brad, you can tell him the final thing. I don't know what to tell him how to do that thing, but I want to hear from you. And that's the way I'd like to hear from you. I want you to tell me what you learned. Call me 90 days from now. You can't always get through. Send me an email, 90 days. Here's what I learned. I took this idea and I made it work. And I know if you will say that to me, you will say that to the people you hire. So if you resent somebody telling you that you have to learn how to rehash it. Rehash is not a bad word, but we have a guy out today says, well, we're looking for revisit. No, you have to rehash it to get a revisit. Take every lead that you've invested in and make it worth your while. Take every moment you have. When we first came into the business of recording, we used to say to them, if you're listening to a recording, listen to 30 minutes every morning when you get up. Listen to it on the way to work. Listen to it when you come home. Well, I'm saying the same thing to do with these videos because you get just unexcelled use of these things. I hope I've convinced you not to invest in video. I could have retired when I was 32 years of age. I want you to invest in you. Then you come back and tell me, thank you for the opportunity, because that's what we're placing for you. Any last minute words, Brad?
No, I appreciate Sebastian from Rilla joining us today, and thank you for contributing to the power of this event. And if you have any questions as an aftermath of the event, you can email us at admin, ADMIN, at Dave Yoho, that's YOHO.com. And we hope to see you on a future program at a future event. Take the time to learn more about Rilla, please. We'll be sending out more information about that after the program. Take the time to look about super sales training. We'll be sending more information about that after the program as well. But invest in your people, invest in your education, and invest in the technological resources that are coming out today.
Okay, we promised you 75
you.
minutes. We're closing in 70. We're wrapping this up in 70 minutes. And we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you're doing with these success factors and make life good for you and your family and the people that work for you. God bless you.
Thank you.